Obviously, you couldn't say that it would have been a bad deal, but on the other hand, Manchester United's star player, only player at times, for the last sort of 4, 5, 6 years has been Bruno Fernandes. He's the one player that I can point towards that's been a success out of the big signings that they've made. I don't think anybody has doubted his commitment to Manchester United over the last few years, Bruno Fernandes. He plays every single week. He hardly misses a game. He's consistent. His chances created, his goals, his assists have been sensational. And the fact that he wants to stay, the fact that he wants to sort of go through this and come out the other side, because it would have been easy for him at the end of this season to say, look, I'm done here. There will have been a huge amount of money on the table for him to go over to Saudi. But the fact that he's stayed, I think, will endear himself towards Manchester United fans even more.
Bruno, Bruno, Bruno comes from Sporting like Cristiano. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D video hits. And as ever, if something is on your mind, if something is bubbling up inside of you that you need to express, please express it in the comments. The Big D reads all of the comments and he's always interested in what is on your mind. And my question is, what is on your mind? Because I'll tell you what's on mine, and that is Bruno Fernandes, our illustrious captain. He has decided to stay at Manchester United. And here is jubilant Gary Neville talking about this fantastic news. But stick around for after the clip, because the Big D is going to be giving his thoughts on Bruno Fernandes and why he's made the right choice at this point in his career. Here's Gary.
We've spoken a lot about contracts and recruitment and things like that this morning, Gary. Obviously, this little mini transfer window is open at the moment. A lot of discussion as ever about Manchester United. Firstly, to Bruno Fernandes, who it seems we've been reporting this morning, says he doesn't want to move to Saudi Arabia at this stage of his career. How significant is that for United?
I mean, it's significant. I think that the money that was on the table was big. So I think that there was an element of this situation that meant that United getting that level of money for someone at Bruno's age, obviously you couldn't say that it would have been a bad deal. But on the other hand, Manchester United's star player, only player at times, for the last sort of 4, 5, 6 years has been Bruno Fernandes. He's the one player that I can point towards that's been a success out of the big signings that they've made. He's so important. He's the one player that has the personality and courage to take the ball in difficult situations. If he plays well, United have got half a chance of winning a game. And you saw in the Europa League final, when obviously he had one of his sort of more difficult games, that United were next to nothing in attack. So I think him staying at the club, Cunha coming in, does give them a couple of players with personality that might just make a difference next season, hopefully, because it was obviously a torrid season for them last year.
Does it feel significant that he said that he still wants to be there, firstly, for the draw of Manchester United, but also maybe that he has, we've talked about those above the manager, saved them a tricky decision as to whether to cash in or not, because he said, no, I want to stay, so the bid doesn't really matter?
Yeah, look, I don't think anybody has doubted his commitment to Manchester United over the last few years, Bruno Fernandes. He plays every single week. He hardly misses a game. He's consistent. His chances created, his goals, his assists have been sensational. And the fact that he wants to stay, the fact that he wants to sort of go through this and come out the other side, because it would have been easy for him at the end of this season to say, look, I'm done here. There will have been a huge amount of money on the table for him to go over to Saudi. But the fact that he's stayed, I think, will endear himself towards Manchester United fans even more. And even towards me. I mean, obviously, I'm a United fan, but the idea that to turn that money down and at a point where Manchester United are at their lowest ebb and say, no, I want to fight through this. I want to see it through the other side. I want to come out and, achieve things, I think says a lot about him as a person, as a character. And I think United fans will warm to that, because at this moment in time, the club needs people who are going to run through a brick wall for them. And I think the decision he's made this morning, or it feels like he's made this morning, I think that's something that will become apparent.
Just a final word then, Gary, before we let you go on the incomings and potential incomings. You mentioned Matheus Cunha and the personality he has. We're expecting an approach for Brian Mbeumo at Brentford later in the week. Does a strategy of proven Premier League players, perhaps not quite at their peak just yet, seem smart from the club?
I think they need that. They need players who are going to come in and hit the ground running. And I said before, I mean, United has become a very difficult place for new signings to operate in the last 10 years. Cunha and Mbemo have got obviously Premier League experience. They've got plenty of games under their belt. It's not new to them, and actually they're the right type. You know, when I watch Manchester United wide players, they have to be able to get from box to box quickly. They have to be able to run. They have to be able to travel with the ball and without the ball. And Mbemo and, to be fair, Cunha can do that. They both run forward with real sort of intent and purpose. The couple of 2 or 3 players that are going to leave, they're more jinkers. They're players who, to be fair, play in smaller spaces. For anybody who's played at Old Trafford, even though the size of the pitch, maybe in terms of metrics, might not seem bigger, but it just feels a big pitch to play on. And the width is important. And I know that sort of Ruben Amorim has this system where he plays these 2 players in behind a striker. If those 2 players are Mbeumo and Cunha, then, to be fair, Manchester United will at least be able to travel quickly from deep positions into sort of attacking positions, because they can both run. They both sort of got real sort of direct way of playing. And Manchester United, I think it's important that they have that. And we know the likes of Sancho, Rashford, Antony, and probably Garnacho are going to leave, so they need definitely players in those positions.
It didn't make sense at all, in any way, shape or form, Bruno Fernandes leaving Manchester United for 100 million to Al Hilal. Not for anyone, not even for Manchester United, because they say, well, 100 million for a 31-year-old in September or whenever his birthday is. Yeah, fair enough. But they would have to spend that 100 million plus another 40 to get someone adequate to replace him. I mean, who can you buy that is available to replace Bruno Fernandes? I don't know anyone. Florian Wirtz, he wants to go to the Scousers. Plus, he would cost about 125 million. Jude Bellingham isn't coming to Man United. Who would you realistically get in to replace Bruno Fernandes? Okay, we've got Cunha. Fair enough. But we don't need to be replacing Bruno Fernandes for Cunha. We need Cunha to play alongside Bruno Fernandes. No, it just didn't make sense. Plus also, all right, fair enough. If we got 100 million for Bruno Fernandes, that's fine. But what about all the merchandising and all of the sponsorship that rely on having Bruno Fernandes on the face of a can of pop or on a t-shirt or his name on the back of a shirt or things like that? You know? No, he is worth more money at Manchester United than if we sold him for 100 million to Saudi Arabia, Al Hilal. Manchester United have just come off the worst season that I have ever seen as a Manchester United fan, and I'm 42 years old, and I've supported Manchester United since I was about 10. So what's that? 32 years I've been watching Manchester United, and I have never, ever, ever seen as bad a season as what we have just witnessed, okay? Now, despite that, Bruno Fernandes has still played quite well, and despite that, Al Hilal are still offering him £750,000 per week to come and play for them. Now, yeah, I mean, that sounds great, but what if he stayed for another season or two? And what if Man United dramatically improved next season? And that was all because of their illustrious captain, Bruno Fernandes. Do you not think his stock would rise? That Saudi Arabia will come in with maybe £1 million a week? And what if we improve dramatically next season, and then the season after that we improve even more, and Bruno Fernandes becomes a Premier League winning captain? He'll still be able to get the same money in Saudi Arabia, no problem. And it's not like it's a Super League over there. You know, a 36-year-old Bruno Fernandes will still be able to perform in that league in 4 years' time, or however long time for when his contract with Manchester United runs out. So it just didn't make sense. He has still got a lot to prove. He's got at least 3 years left at Premier League level. And it would be a shame for him to waste that in Saudi Arabia. No offence to the Saudis. They're throwing a lot of money there and they want that league to be a big league and all of that, and that's fair enough, but it's not that kind of league yet. So it would just be a waste of talent for Bruno Fernandes to go over there right now. If Bruno Fernandes went to Barcelona or Real Madrid, I mean, you can kind of understand it. But no. He needs to be playing in the Premier League, and he's got unfinished business at Manchester United. Bruno Fernandes is this generation's Brian Robson. He is a player that's carrying Manchester United through this dark time, right? And Brian Robson carried Manchester United in the 80s. And he didn't leave Manchester United until he had 2 league titles under his belt. 2, when he was about 36. And there's no reason that Bruno Fernandes can't do the same thing. So Bruno staying is massive. And if we get Cunha, we've got Cunha alongside him. And then on top of that, we get a number 9. And then maybe if we get Mbeumo, I mean, are they going to play Mbeumo at number 9 or does it number 10? I don't know. He's an interesting forward signing, really. But you don't cut your nose off to spite your face. Even if someone's paying you 100 million to cut your nose off, you just don't do it. You don't do it. You build the team around Bruno Fernandes. He's that good. Bruno Fernandes walks into any team in world football, and it is absolutely fantastic and great news for us Manchester United fans to see our captain show a bit of loyalty. I mean, how often do you see loyalty in football these days? It's not very often. And we will get to sing for at least one more season. Bruno, 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 comes from Sporting like Cristiano. But what do you guys think? Has he made the right choice? Thoughts in the comments. The Big D will see you in the next one.